So here, instead of reading 50 pages of bios of my wonderful panelists, I want to kick off this panel with a quick video.
Storytelling, I think, is in my blood. I feel it's important to reach the heart, because if you want change, people must change from within.
There's a lot of hopeful people out there who just need a little bit of encouragement.
Welcome to the innovation.
So if you support a company that's doing good, and then they support a company that's doing good, you just amplify the impact of that spend.
HP is planting 1 million trees in collaboration with the Jane Goodall Institute.
Great. So thanks, Dr. Jane Goodall, for that intro. Her work is what inspired us and really brought all of us together today. I remember at the beginning of that same interview, in that video, she said something about at the early days of her work, and she had made a vow to never use jargons. And even if it's a scientific paper, she will not resort to that. If you have been here this whole week, I'm sure you've all heard a lot of AI, ML, CTV, OTT, DSP, right? Oftentimes, I think in this day of data being the hottest commodity in our business, oftentimes we forget storytelling is what set us apart from other animals, chimpanzees included. So studies showed that over 65% of our communications is storytelling. We might not even expect that. As a historian and author Yuval Harari said in his book, and I paraphrase, stories has created artificial instinct that enabled millions of strangers to come together, to collaborate effectively at scale. And that's what led to the success of our species. So today, this network of artificial instinct is called culture. And we will learn today about how your work is shaping the culture and how culture and creativity is shape our beliefs, our behaviors, and beyond. So I want to start with Anna, just to dive right into your work. What are the North Stars from all your respective areas of work, and how is that shaping our culture?
Yeah, well, thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for hosting us on this panel. I want to thank my fellow panelists who are such an inspiration in this space, and so it's a real honor to be up here with all of you. At the Jane Goodall Institute, we really follow Jane's examples and philosophies. Storytelling is key to that. Jane is one of those extraordinary individuals who has this beautiful gift of storytelling. She often talks about it's not just enough to convince someone, but it's really about working with the heart and the head, and you do that through storytelling. So our work focuses on making the world a better place for other people, animals, and the planet in general. So in any of our partnerships or projects, that's really what we're aiming to do. Jane's philosophy is a very holistic one. She often talks about the tapestry of life and the interconnectivity of everything. So as we look for partnerships and as we look to activate our programs throughout Central Africa and the world, we're looking for that connectivity and how do things impact other animals, the people, and the environment.
Wonderful. And let's move on to Michele. Tell us a little bit about your partnership with JGI and how is that impacting HP's business and to that extent the broader community and even the world.
Of course. So at HP, we're on a vision right now to be the world's most sustainable and just technology company. And that also means calling out what are the different things then that are integral to our business. And forests are one of them, right? As a company, we have a commitment to climate action, we have a commitment to human rights, and we have a commitment to digital equity. And we know that really advancing progress and solving some of the world's most pressing challenges actually means who can we do this in partnership with, and being very honest about that. So with Jane Goodall Institute, for example, we've partnered over the years with JGI as well as with Arbor Day Foundation to think about planting over 1 million trees together. And we do this because it's not just about the partnership, right? But we know on the business side, it also makes good sense. It helps us in terms of the business results we can drive. It helps us to really attract and retain top talent And then also, of course, it makes us think about, what does this mean to our customers and how do we instill trust as a brand in what we do? And so together what we've done, and just really in one aspect of this, is thinking about tree planting, launching a campaign as well a few years ago called Plant a Tree with HP. It had really good marketing, messaging, and recall, 45% or more, and that was important because it's connecting with those that we're trying to really talk about what does sustainable impact mean to us and to the communities where we work and do business and serve. And then finally, just thinking as well, what does it really come down to our overall vision? Like I said, to be the world's most sustainable and just. And are we walking the talk? Do we have partners that are really helping us meet our goals, but also continue to learn and continue to innovate because of the learnings we have?
Great. And Tara, you have a very unique background, and tell us about your journey leading to starting a B Corp, and what was that led to that seminal moment that you decided to start a business and do good?
Absolutely, and as well, thank you very much to Advertising Week and Jennifer. Call out to Jennifer at Advertising Week. She's a champion of sustainability, and this whole panel came together because of Advertising Week's commitment to sustainability. So it's awesome to be here. Can I have a show of hands? Has anyone ever received any swag in your life? Okay, there's some liars in the room, because I guess that everybody has received some swag, myself included. And I did not start Ethical Swag because I dreamt of putting logos on pens. I've been in marketing for over 30 years. I knew I wanted to create a different kind of business. I knew that it needed to, I think corporations are the vehicle in which we've found ourselves in some of the challenges that we're having globally. And I do think business is a vehicle to get us to the other side. And I'm up here with phenomenal global brands, but there's something all of us can do around sustainability. There's something that we can all do in our businesses every day. And we make choices, we vote for with our dollars as individuals. And when I was thinking about starting my business only a few years ago, it was how do we harness the power of large corporations in a way that can really move the needle? Because that's where we're really going to see the change. And I looked at swag, and I've worked in government, I've worked in professional sports, I've worked in tech startups. Swag was ubiquitous. But what story was it telling of those brands? I felt that there was another way to tell that story. And that's how Ethical Swag was born. It's really the story that you're telling with the things that you put your logo on.
Thank you. And what a perfect circle that brought all of you together. And I would love for you to elaborate a bit more about storytelling and collaboration and how that is amplifying and multiplying the positive impact that each one of you are making. Maybe we'll start with Anna. How do you utilize storytelling in your work?
So storytelling is front and center in all of our work. As I was saying earlier, we strongly believe in this philosophy of the head and the heart. In our partnership with HP and Arbor Day, a wonderful example of that with Plant a Tree with HP, surrounded that we are going out and it's native trees, and then it's community-led protection of those trees. So it's not enough just to grab a tree, stick it in the ground, walk away, and there pat ourselves on the back. But it's really about that ongoing cultivation and stewardship of these natural resources and telling stories around that. So we have a program at the Jane Goodall Institute called Roots and Shoots. It's a global youth empowerment program. And this is something that we often activate around projects like this with HP and Arbor Day. And tell the stories of that forest, tell the stories of what that forest means or what that project means. It's more than just trees. There's often these cultural elements to it, and obviously biodiversity is a big part of that. And then finally, I just want to thank HP because they also helped us fund a translation of one of Jane's most famous books. It's titled My Life with Chimpanzees. And this is a book that Jane wrote for an audience that was very inclusive. With the language, it's not an academic book, but it's more just storytelling about her own experience as a scientist and observing chimpanzees. And HP worked with us to translate that into Swahili, which is the predominant language in Tanzania. where Jane did her research. So really appreciate that. That's another form of storytelling, but that was a wonderful element to our partnership.
Wonderful. Yeah, and if you think of the perfect embodiment of science and storytelling, that's Dr. Jane Goodall. So Michele, I think going more into partnerships, and what do you see as the most important ingredients of a successful partnership?
Sure. You know, I think the real answer, and this allows me, so thank you for this question, because I've actually spent a lot of my career as well working in the nonprofit space. And why I say that, now I'm obviously not at a nonprofit, I'm working for an organization that partners with nonprofits quite extensively. But what I love about this is, when we think about what makes a partnership work, it's truly that value add on all sides, not both sides, and I say that consciously because it's not just maybe the nonprofit entity, or it might not just be the corporate entity, but it's thinking about what is the community that you're working with as well, and what does that mean. And I know I've been blessed to have so many learnings over the years by being deeply enmeshed, living in other locations, thinking about what that means. You know, what we thought something might be from the start of a partnership by year 2 or 3 could look completely different, and that's a good thing. And I think even just to go back to what Anna was sharing around the work with the book and the translation, and yes, it was so powerful to have this book translated, and now with children who are learning on the ground in their mother tongue language, which has a whole host of beautiful things associated with it. But it's really, what is the wider community doing as part of this partnership? And so teachers are being empowered with the books that they can use in their classrooms, and that's something we want to make sure that they can support. We think about what does this mean for the broader Roots and Shoots program within the Jane Goodall Institute, and how can that work maybe be scaled to other locations? Maybe it's different books, maybe it's different learning materials, but again, it steps back from how did this partnership start? There's several different communities at the heart of it, and it's not that one-size-fits-all approach, and I think that's also the really beautiful thing to it, is we're looking at what does success look like kind of for everyone that's touching the aspect of the partnership.
Great. Wow. And speaking of it, what does success look like? Well, that's a perfect segue. Tara, what does success look like, especially when it comes to storytelling? How do you measure that? How do you measure the impact of storytelling?
That's something that I think sometimes stops us from action, because how do you measure? And we are in the world of AI, and we're in the world of data, and we're in the world of things that are very measured all the time. And at the end of the day, it's people making decisions, it's your employees showing up every day. And I measure, and it's partnerships. It's having partners like HP to be able to help with the measurement. We have partners that help to show the impact of the things that we do and the money that we spend, and how our clients, if they want to support a diverse supply chain, we are able to show them that, and we have partners that then can show the impact of that spend. And at the end of the day, the impact is the people for us at Ethical Swag, because it always comes back to people, and I think we're getting a little bit too focused on the numbers. We will measure, we have to measure the impact, but HP as a partner is measuring the impact for the Jane Goodall Foundation. We're a not just for profit organization. We have, as part of our Articles of Incorporation, People, Planet, and Profit on equal measures within our articles, because they are of equal importance. And I think it's partnerships that help you measure. We can help you measure. HP can help you measure, and so can partners like Dr. Jane Goodall Institute.
How about, do either of you have anything to add to the concept of measurement? Being a lot of people saying here are agencies and media people that measurement is a big part of their work.
I'm happy to, I actually love what you just said, and I want to kind of reiterate for Tara as well, because we are a company that has really big goals in sustainable impact. The work that my team leads is around accelerating digital equity for 150 million people by 2030. So yes, the numbers matter, but I think to your point, it's also, if we're going to say that we want to be a purpose-led business, that we are a purpose-led business, what does that actually mean? Because I can come up here and tell you the number for sure, but I would hope that whether you're a customer, an employee, or whoever you are, you're also saying, so what does that look like? And that we as an organization can say, this is our North Star. this is what 150 million means to us. Here are the elements that we actually say, this is what we count an acceleration to be. And guess what? It doesn't just mean everyone in the world is holding a PC. That would be impractical if you actually think about what else might be the reason why someone faces a digital divide. And so the numbers help serve as that North Star. But to your point, it's the people and what are the realities and what's being faced that actually is guiding us to what does success actually look like.
Yeah. I would just add, love both of your comments. It's remembering that why. Why does it matter? You know, who, and I think this ties back nicely to the conversation about storytelling. So often, you know, we may look at these numbers and they become abstractions, but why does that matter? It matters because an individual's life was changed. Mm-hmm. It matters because a community's life was changed. It matters because a species was saved. It mattered, you know, there are all of these whys of why it matters. And that can be told through storytelling in a way that the data, the storytelling around the data needs to emphasize those elements as well. Jane often and famously says that every individual matters, every individual makes a difference, and it's what difference you want to make. And having that, the individual at the center of why it matters and the data that we're collecting is really critical.
Yeah.
And honestly, to pick up on that, the people that are attracted to your organization to work, it matters to them.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, you're attracted to a certain job because of what that company stands for, more today than ever. And so the through line is not just your customers, not just your partners, it's your employees. And it has to be authentic. And, you know, when I looked at our particular industry and the B Corp, you mentioned it earlier, we've been audited to a global standard for sustainability. And the reason we do that, and that's hard, it's not an easy lift, but we did that because we wanted to make sure that the folks that hadn't met us know that we do what we say we do, because it matters.
That's so great. And in fact, that's one of the things we kept on seeing in our Shorty Impact Awards entries. A lot of times I look at the case studies, and in the success metrics, they will write reach and frequencies and numbers of likes we got, engagement we got. All these are great numbers, but when you compare that to organizations' very unique goals and the goals where you have numbers that aren't weighted the same way as reach and frequency and engagement. So for example, I've heard stories where people raise a certain amount of money that solve the specific questions, and also impact where a policy is changed, a law is changed, and places where lives are saved, or to what you just said, species are saved. So if you compare those numbers, even though they're not huge numbers, those are much more meaningful numbers than engagement in many cases, right? So one other thing I'm taking away from what you just said in this conversation is that great storytelling is rooted in hard work. Getting certified as B Corp is hard work. And what enabled Dr. Jane Goodall's great storytelling is spending 60 years in the jungle with the chimpanzees. So you can't just pull out of great storytelling out of thin air. So I want to talk a little bit, you all to talk a little bit about the hardest things, the biggest challenges in your work and how you overcome that.
Oh gosh, who wants to start?
Oh, this is a hard question, right?
If it was easy.
You have to have a hard question.
What do they say? If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make it easy in our small little sliver. So, you know, it hasn't been easy at Ethical Swag. You know, a lot of my friends are golfing a lot. I'm 30 plus years into my career now. And so I could have made some different choices when I was starting Ethical Swag, but it was really important for me to embody a different kind of corporate model that demonstrates that we can do it a different way. Because over the 30 years, I've seen in the incubators, because I've been in tech startups, I've seen in governments as it relates to policy, I've seen in professional sports, like all the different things that I've done throughout my career, I see some really amazing ways that corporations can really move the needle, but I've also seen a lot of things that are broken. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I'm seeing being taught in the incubators and some of these startups are go fast, get your money out quick, growth at all costs. These kinds of messages, that's not going to help us. So it's hard, but my quest was to make it easy. So, you know, in our small little piece of what we're trying to achieve, we're trying to make that easy. And that's sort of, it hasn't been easy, but there's a lot of support, there's a lot of partners, there's a lot of people once you actually go out to do that, that are there to make it easier. And I think you just have to start.
I think the other thing I would add is when we think about why stories are powerful is because we also have really an obligation to think about the honesty behind what went into the stories to get there. And it's kind of to my earlier point around, you may have something like a partnership, or you may have something like, you know, a group that you're working with on a wider coalition, let's say, where you think you're going to do this and you wind up in a completely different area. And it would be exciting to come out and say, yeah, we had this vision, or we were planning this scale all along. And I think that is really where there's that inherent dishonesty that then comes in, and you're saying, are we really telling the full side of it? And I'll use a very difficult example, but one that's currently ongoing, and that's a lot of the work that we as HP are doing with partners in Ukraine. And not just in Ukraine, but thinking about refugees, displaced populations at large, oftentimes working in communities like this. And we've seen even the way that organizations we've partnered with, and there are terrific nonprofits as well as other corporate entities, there has been a request to do something, and then in a few months, we ask to pivot and to switch. And I think being honest about that, sharing when those situations come up, and keeping that nimble nature, because you realize you're responding to things in real time, and you have to acknowledge that. It will help your story as well, because you're talking about where a shift was needed, and where you, by doing the right thing and being purpose-led, actually helps you to truly stay the course, even if it's a different course.
And I would say one of our biggest challenges that we face at the Jane Goodall Institute is something that is probably relatable to all of you, certainly working in areas like we do that are planetary, climate, environmental issues, wildlife issues, is there's a sense of apathy that can creep in, of these subjects are so big. And why does it matter what I do? I'm one person, but oh my goodness, look at these admissions by this country. Why does it matter what I do? And as I was listening to this, I was thinking about, Jane often tells a story. We're going to take this way back now. We're going to go 60-something years back when she was that young researcher in Western Tanzania. And she's there to observe certain behaviors of the chimpanzees. And she's getting to the point where her funding is about to run out. And so she hasn't necessarily had these great discoveries that are going to propel the funding forward. And so she calls home to her mother, and her mother was extremely supportive of her throughout her life. She calls home to her mom, what am I going to do? The funding's about to run out. I haven't had the success that I was anticipating. And her mother's words were, just keep going. And that kind of ethic of just keep going. And when you get to a place of disappointment, just keep going. When you get to a place of frustration, just keep going. And truly believe in that indomitable human spirit, that idea that we can make a brighter future, that idea that we make a difference with all of our actions every single day, and then finally inspiring hope through your actions, your decisions, your engagement, and inspiring that in one another. And that truly is the way in which we can combat this apathy that can often creep in all of our industries, that things feel too big, but it's making those small differences and inspiring hope in one another.
Wow, I love that. Just to pile on the concept of apathy, I remember our generation was, at one point in time, we were told by someone, I believe, worked for Facebook, and he said that the greatest minds of our generation are thinking about making people to click on more ads. If you think of that, you really feel powerless, right? Like, is my work meaningful enough? Are we out there changing the world? To that, I say that keep thinking about getting people click on ads, if that's what you're good at, and if that brings you joy, but at the same time, let's make better ads for better businesses, tell better stories. And people are not going to stop consuming media. People are not going to stop consuming entertainment. In fact, we will be consuming more entertainment. But within those entertainment and media and ads that we're creating, what stories can we tell that is meaningful? So there is a lot of power that we do have. And let's take that capital we have, the talent we have, the greatest minds we have, the sophistication of technology we've developed in ad tech and martech, the wealth of data and influencing power, and take that and do something more important as well. Not necessarily instead of, but as well, and put that on something that matters. So I wanted to close out with, we have a few more minutes. I wanted to give each one of you an opportunity to leave the marketers and agency folks in this room with whether it's an advice or a recommendation of a book or a movie that we should go watch, or action that we should take.
I got one. There's bookmarks. Has everybody got a bookmark?
Yes.
Okay, take action. There will be a tree planted for every QR code, right? It's that simple, right? And it's a bookmark because we're telling stories. And so keep the bookmark, plant the tree that's on the bookmark, watch wildflowers grow. Think about the work that Anna and Michele and Junmian are doing, and all the others that are actively every day saying, you know, I'm gonna try and make a difference. And one last thing, Press On is hanging over my desk. I have a whole poem about Press On. It's fabulous. My father gave it to me when I was in university, and it came in through a fax on the really old paper. I'm dating myself now. And there's, like, you can see where I've tacked it up over my desk for the last 30 years, and there's coffee stains on it, and it's called Press On. And so when you were talking about, I just wanted to share that. I can share a picture if anyone wants to contact me after, because it's true, I've got it there. So.
I mean, of course, we have to recommend My Life with Chimpanzees right after the conversation.
But no, I think there is one other book, actually, I would say, that I'm reading right now, and I'm finding it fascinating. It's called Born Extraordinary. It's by a woman named Meg Zucker, and she is an individual with a disability who is doing incredible things in the world. I think the stories around this space and what she is looking to inspire and ignite, and she also runs a nonprofit called Don't Hide It, Flaunt It, that is just absolutely beautiful. And I think that message and those kinds of stories as well should have a home. So that is my recommendation, is in support of that book.
Wonderful.
And thank you for My Life with Chimpanzees. There are many good books I could recommend. I will just leave you all with a thought, and that is, or a challenge, an invitation to remain fiercely optimistic, and that to know that what you're doing, and even to have the intention for making positive impacts, you're doing something positive. So please do remain fiercely optimistic. Know that your actions fuel hope in others. And thank you to our partners here and to our partners around the world who are helping the Jane Goodall Institute do that around the world. So.
Wonderful. To close, that just reminded me that the comment about don't hide. I attended a session, Group Black hosted on Monday about investing in culture and relevance. One thing they said really resonated with everything we talked about today, that oftentimes a lot of marketers are holding back on their success stories. Not sure why. Maybe it's business confidentiality and competitiveness, and feels like we're not giving away the secret sauce of why we're successful. And one of the panelists given an advice that as marketers, let's share our success stories. Let's go out and shout it from the top of the roof. Don't hide it, and let these stories inspire more people to do more. And it's not a zero-sum game. We can all learn from each other. So I invite all of you to share your stories with all of us, and specifically Shorty Awards. We're about to open for entry, so submit your great work and share stories with the industry so that we can all go out and plant that kernel of seed and turn that into a forest.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.